In Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 14, the interrogation of Boruto at the hands of the Konoha shinobi has begun. Here, we are seeing Boruto in a position we haven't seen him in since the story of 2 Blue Vortex has started, which is completely helpless. Because of Amado's chakra sealing handcuffs, Boruto right now can't use chakra to enhance his physical strength, nor can he use it to perform any jutsu, like flying Raijin in order to escape, as we've seen him done previously in the story. Boruto right now only has one card he can play, and we actually see him use it later on in this chapter, which is something that any shinobi worth their salt knows is more valuable than anything when dealing with a threat like the one they are facing at the moment, which is information, specifically information on the awakened Shinjuu, all of course due to Koji's ability, the 10 Direction, which they are not currently aware of at the moment. We also see in this chapter the conflict between Shikamaru and Ino that unfortunately leads to Shikamaru losing her as an ally, which leads him to trust another in order to accomplish his mission, which is to get Boruto free from the situation that he is currently in. On the other hand, we also see Kawaki seemingly making the same mistake that unfortunately so many shonen antagonists end up making, which is letting himself get too comfortable and being too confident that they have the situation handled and that nothing could possibly go wrong. Unfortunately for him, things do go wrong, and not just with Boruto. We see at the end of this chapter the birth of a new Shinjuu due to the defeat of Gaara and his son Shinki being captured and turned into a tree like many others seen before. But let's start with Boruto's interrogation by the Konoha shinobi. Here we see Boruto after waking up being asked questions by Konohamaru, Ibiki, and Amado about what the enemy they faced off against were. But before that, we see Boruto trying to use Flying Raijin to escape, but he's told what we learned in the previous chapter, that these handcuffs seal away your chakra, so Boruto cannot use it in order to help him escape. This is where we see him relay information about the awakened Shinjuu to the Leaf, and even informs them about how each of them were created from the chakra of the people captured by the Ten Tails. With Hidari, it was Sasuke, and then he tells Konohamaru about Matsuri, who was created using Moegi, and how she is targeting him, like how Sarada is being targeted by Hidari. And this is where we see Amado restating why these awakened Shinjuu are so dangerous. He goes on to state that the Ten Tails normally just operates on instinct to devour an Otsutsuki and grow a divine tree and produce a chakra fruit, but after gaining intelligence, they're much more dangerous than before, because now they can't just think of them as animals anymore. Now they are specifically looking for information. They have a need to satisfy their curiosity, and we have seen previously that they will do anything to accomplish that goal, which if they do will just make them even more dangerous and more difficult to deal with. And here is where we get the confirmation of Jura's identity by Boruto. Boruto states that Jura is the Ten Tails itself. He is the Ten Tails, but in a new, more humanoid form, which explains why he is so far above the others in terms of skill and power. Now, with Boruto giving them all this information, it's understandable that they would like to know how he even acquired this information, with Boruto refusing to reveal who his source is, stating that it's for their own safety. And if you pay attention here, we see a panel of Amado looking at Boruto with a suspicious look, which tells us that either he knows who Boruto is talking about, because since Amado was the one who modified Koji's DNA with Shibai's, and since he likely would know about the 10 Directions ability and what it can do, and seeing Boruto possessing very detailed information about the awakened Shinjuu, and how Boruto seems to conveniently be in places that realistically he shouldn't be in, Amado could have already pieced together that it's Koji who is helping him. Now, this is where we see that while Konoha has moved forward during Naruto's run as Hokage, there are still some things that haven't really changed, because we see the two elders refuting Boruto's claim that the only reason why he's still alive is because he has information that could be beneficial to him, and claiming that whatever these monsters are, they'll deal with them by themselves, and they don't really need Boruto, which we know is complete horseshit. We know that Boruto is by far the best chance they have at taking down the awakened Shinjuu, and that without Boruto, they very likely would not have survived the confrontation against Jura and Hidari. Now, while this interrogation is happening, we see Kawaki with Ada and Damon, with Ada giving them commentary on what is happening with Boruto's interrogation, and we see Damon reminding Kawaki that it would be very bad for him if Boruto reveals to Konoha that Naruto is still alive and that he lied to them about Naruto being dead. Now, this is where we see another example from the story that Naruto being dead is not part of omnipotence. Because while it is true that everyone's memories of Boruto and Kawaki have been switched, it was after it was casted that Kawaki told them Naruto was killed by Boruto. But Kawaki, being the smug bastard that he is, still says that even if Boruto tells him the truth, it won't change the fact that in everyone's mind, Naruto still disappeared because of Boruto, and we know technically it was Kawaki, but omnipotence is making them believe that Boruto is Kawaki. Now, technically, Kawaki isn't wrong. Even if Boruto didn't kill Naruto, he could still be charged with kidnapping the 7th Hokage and his wife, which isn't something that they're just going to let slip by and just allow Boruto to walk free after doing something like that. And Kawaki does actually have a reason to be at least a little bit confident considering the situation. Think about this real quick. Boruto right now can't use chakra and he's surrounded by people who want him dead. Under normal circumstances, Boruto would have no way of escaping the situation he's in right now. But this is where we see that if you're an antagonist in a shonen manga series, the last thing you want to be is overconfident. Cause that's usually when the series is about to fuck you over, which is what ends up happening later on. Before that, however, we see both Kawaki and Damon being confused when Ada tells them that Boruto didn't tell them what it was that Kawaki had done, specifically about hiding both Naruto and Hinata in the Daikokunin dimension. Because if he did tell them that, then their eyes would turn to Kawaki. Because here's the thing, even if they know Kawaki has Ishiki's eye, even if they see that Kawaki was clearly made into a cyborg by Amado, even if they can clearly see that there are no pictures of young Kawaki with Naruto, with Hinata, with Himawari, they still believe that Kawaki is Naruto's son because that is what Omnipotence is telling them. However, they do see that Kawaki has Ishiki's abilities, which is Sukuna Hikona and Daikokunin, which means that if Boruto had told them that Naruto and Hinata are hidden in the Daikokunin dimension, which he was told by Kawaki before all the Omnipotence stuff happened, then their eyes would turn to Kawaki, but he didn't tell them any of that. And now Kawaki is probably wondering why Boruto is staying silent. And I'm curious to see where this actually goes later on in the story. Afterwards, during the events that will lead to Boruto's escape, we get to see Omnipotence in effect when Shikamaru is watching the interrogation happening, watching Boruto getting beat up by Ibiki. Thinking of ways to get Boruto out of here, we see him remembering his conversation with Boruto about what Kawaki did. But we also see that he can't even remember the word omnipotence. We see Shikamaru struggling to remember why he even believes in Boruto at all. Even saying that he has no logical reason for believing him at all, but it's only after he remembers that he decided to believe that Boruto is Naruto's son, and that is the only explanation for all of the weird inconsistencies that he is seeing around him. And he also remembers that that is why he is helping him, and he remembers that he needs to help Boruto get out of here no matter what. Now, this is interesting because this must have been what it was like for Sasuke for a whole year being with Boruto, constantly having to remind himself why he is helping Boruto. And just like Shikamaru, only doing it because of another reason. In Sasuke's case, it was his promise to Sarada to protect Boruto no matter what. After this, we see him trying to get Ino to help him, but this time she refuses. We see her throughout the conversation constantly looking at Inojin, clearly worried that helping Shikamaru might lead to bad things happening not just to her, but also possibly her son, so she cuts off communications with him. Now, I know a lot of people might be a bit angry with her over this decision, but considering she knows that her son nearly died, it's understandable why she as a mother would prioritize her own son's safety over anything else. And this is where he brings Mitsuki in, and before Mitsuki actually goes into the interrogation room, Shikamaru takes a moment to remind Mitsuki that he is a shinobi and that he needs to put his emotions aside and complete the mission. Mitsuki then goes in, and after Boruto, possibly putting together what Shikamaru's plan actually is, makes a sarcastic comment to Mitsuki about still looking for his son. We then see Mitsuki go into Sage mode and push Boruto against the wall seemingly out of anger, but this is where we find out what Shikamaru had planned. He gave Mitsuki the code to unlock the handcuffs to free Boruto, while also telling him where he can find his cloak and sword. Before Boruto leaves, however, he tells everyone that he will still share information with them, but whether they actually use the information or not is completely up to them. So even after he was treated so horribly, he still wants to help them, which makes sense because he knows that they are being manipulated by Omnipotence, and they are not in their right minds currently. We then cut to the Hokage office, and while we see Shikamaru possibly contemplating what might be waiting for him in the near future, we see him getting a call from Kankuro, who informs him that Gaara had been taken down along with Shinki. Both are still alive, but Shinki got bitten by one of the claw grimes and turned into a tree. We then cut to the Shinjuu dimension where we see the new awakened Shinjuu that was teased at the end of the previous chapter, and his name is revealed to be Ryu. Now we don't know whether or not this one inherited all of Shinki's abilities, like the ability to use the Iron Sand, because we know that Hidari most likely didn't inherit Sasuke's Sharingan nor any of his MS abilities. I say likely because we still don't know the full capabilities of the awakened Shinjuu yet. So I am curious to see whether or not he will actually be able to use the Iron Sand, which would tell us that the awakened Shinjuu also gained the Kekkei Genkai of the people they were made from. Now, I'm curious to see where they take the story from here. Overall, I thought the chapter was good with the exception of some moments where they just repeated information we were already aware of. Other than that, I think it's a decent chapter, but I'm curious about your thoughts as always. And while you're here, maybe give the video a like, consider subscribing if you're new, maybe become a channel member, and I will see you for the next review. Bye for now.